Welcome to the Ammo City Video Podcast. I'm Russ, and that's Zach.
Hello.
And we are here to talk about all the things that are happening in kind of the world of physical media right now, which is a pretty busy space at the moment. And also not necessarily everything physical. We're talking quite a bit today about some theatrical / streaming releases that just fit into our niche of talking about how completely broken the studio system is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this whatever this ends up being, this version of ECV, it's gonna basically be anything kind of. I mean, we'll end up talking about streaming because there's no way to not talk about movies and talk about streaming. But it's just like anything that happens before, just stuff gets dumped on the internet and hope for the best. So.
And forgotten, yeah.
I don't think that what's happened in between, right? Which something I didn't actually put on the list because it happened relatively soon afterwards, is our previous interview. One of my favorite films of last year,
Princess.
The Princess, was saved to some level. It is currently not back on Hulu for some reason. It's
not. They've been doing this with a handful of things. I think it's the things. So here's my pet theory, and I can't prove this, but it makes a lot of sense. The new deal that they struck with the WGA and SAG involves some level of transparency in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
And so I think now these new contracts have forced the hands of the studios, and they can't say, "Oh, this made $0 anymore." And so anything that made enough money to hit some certain threshold where they're not going to be able to declare it a total loss, I think those are ending up somewhere else. And the thing that's been happening with a lot of those is that they're ending up exclusively for sale. Until Netflix saved it and like double saved it because they actually are making a second season. Star Trek Prodigy was available to buy on like Vudu and Apple and Amazon and all that, not to stream for free anywhere, but also you could get it on Blu-ray. And I'm talking about after it was booted from Paramount Plus.
I'm trying to find The Princess on Blu-ray on.
Princess is not on Blu-ray yet.
It's not on Bluray. It's just on digital download.
It's just on digital platforms.
So it's not. Yeah. Okay. That's why I can't have it. Still want a physical version for God's sake. Just because
we have. Did you take one?
Yes.
Okay.
We have physical versions.
Yeah. For us, just
whatever legal imprimaturs need.
I will say the way it was marked on eBay led me to believe that they were like press screeners for a part of the world that did not have Hulu for like where it was a Disney Plus release. And then we got them and I'm like, there's no way this was actually made by anybody.
It was made from a guy with a color laser printer and a DVD printer. But anyway,
so I will say, but I just find it's funny because like I actually like paid extra to like try to get a legit version that like wasn't technically but like in any event, I'm really super happy about that. That's a thing that I bought on Vudu so that I can watch it again without digging out this bootleg DVD that we have. Really happy for those guys because obviously they were very proud of that movie. They were very upset about the way that it was handled. And that's a thing I've seen in Disney did it with a handful of things. I'd been kind of half watching, and you caught The Princess before I did, but I'd been kind of waiting for it because they also did you remember Crater? It was a movie about like a group of people stuck on the moon. I think it was Kid Cudi and
Crater. No, I don't.
It was Kid Cudi and one of those, I want to say Dakota Fanning, one of that generation of like blonde actresses.
Okay. I remember seeing it on Disney Plus. I never
that was out for even less time than Princess was before they nuked it. That was like, I think it was on Disney Plus for like 6 weeks. And it got deleted the same day that The Princess did. And Crater I actually saw more outcry about than I saw for things like The Princess. And I think it's just because it was so patently absurd that you could be like, oh, in a month with no promotion. it didn't make any money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my pet theory is that these things are happening and things are being sent to sale platforms because now that they have to be somewhat transparent about the numbers, they can't just say, "Oh, this made zero."
Yeah.
Because
yeah. We should really dig up on another episode. I'm going to try to find one if you know a guy, like I want to try to find a Hollywood like economics guy that can actually like talk to me about the thing.
I can certainly ask around. I will say another thing, this has never been on streaming, didn't get like released and then deleted, but I did get a press release this morning. Urkel Saves Santa Claus, an animated movie, is coming direct to video, but it's direct to streaming, but it's not coming to Max. It's just Warner Brothers Home Video that you can buy on Vudu and Prime and all those places.
And it's new too. It's not like something that's been sitting in the can for ages. Like
this was announced in 2021 and has been it. A lot of people were wondering if it was going to be quietly swept away because even though it was done, it was announced right around the same time as Scoob Holiday Haunt. And like, obviously, like Family Matters definitely has some cultural cachet left, but it's not like the juggernaut that it was when it was new on TV. And so,
I mean, and if anybody has anything, it's Urkel. Like people have a remembrance, and I do feel as though that it's gotten some like Gen Z update for some reason. Like people have like paid attention, but I'd be surprised if it had enough
stuff
to be like,
the stuff that has like connected with new young audiences via like streaming platforms. Until I start seeing numbers that always shock me. Like there was an article recently about how independent of the Paramount Plus reboot, Frasier had been doing really well on streaming. And that when they broke it down demographically, there was just a truly absurd number of people who were getting back into streaming or getting back into Frasier after pregnancy. It was like a postpartum, like staying up in the middle of the night breastfeeding comfort.
That checks out.
And so like, but like
it was enough from friends of mine that who have been pregnant that like get into
well, I mean, that's how my sister-in-law watched all of House like the year after it was canceled because or ended, because obviously a show like that doesn't really get canceled, but like the year after it ended because like she had her first kid immediately after it hit Netflix. And it was just like, but
the funny thing is I wish that there was a way that they could, for the actors and everything like that, and obviously this is part of what this whole conversation was, this whole strike was not conversation, but I like the only time that I watch House, the only time I watch Chicago whatever, all these medical dramas, is I will watch 20 minutes of a show on fucking TikTok in like 10 parts, and I will then like there's one that like was like a diagnosis that like hadn't gone through, and it's like 2:00 in the goddamn morning, and I'm like, well, I have to fucking and the ass, whoever the like dick of a uploader was, whatever, like, because it's usually some completely like from a different country, they don't know what they're uploading, but it's content, and it probably makes them money because you look at the views and they're like, but I had to like search through 3 different things and then through the comments, and then finally I never found the end clip, but I did find that somebody in the comments was like, okay, here's what happened, I watched the episode. And I was like, it was such a letdown because it was like, okay. And it's weird because it's like, that's the, like, I tried to watch those shows before because, whatever, like they're pop culture. Like I've tried to watch House just because I like Hugh Laurie, and like I will, if there's a movie he's in, I will see that movie. But or if there's like a British show, I will watch that show. But that show to me is completely fucking unwatchable, and obnoxious, and it's terrible. And it's like, oh my God, like autism on that show is, and like every, like, it's just, like,
it's every show
it's every show, but it's like, but it's also, it's one of those shows that like is supposed to be like going around the like normal like there's like a whole thing about it, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like really bad.
I will say I have a weird thing with the revival of Frasier, I think I talked to you about this privately, but definitely not on the show, where one of the characters, because Frasier has moved to Boston. None of the original supporting cast is back in recurring roles. It's just Kelsey Grammer and then a whole new group of people. But like one of the people who is with him is his nephew David, who is the baby that was born in the original series finale to Niles and Daphne. And David is basically Sheldon Cooper. He's like autistic coded. He's not autistic in terms of he does not have a diagnosis. But like he acts like every autistic person on television. And it's really like those characters frustrate the hell out of me, because it's like you don't get any nuance, you don't get any conversation. It's all just jokes at the expense of the person who's not neurotypical. And then also the thing I always complained about with the Big Bang Theory is like they want all the credit for having a major character who's not neurotypical, but then they'll go out of their way to belabor the point that like, oh no, I'm not a weirdo, I don't have a diagnosis. Which Frasier has not done. And I'm not even 100% sure the writers know that they have him written as every autistic coded character on but that's definitely just the way that it plays. And I've seen a lot of people, like, it's funny, I saw the first 5 before the show premiered for work and couldn't talk about it, and then like was waiting a month or whatever until it could come on the TV, and I could go to the Frasier subreddit and like look at people finding the same and be like, am I crazy? No.
It's tough too, because like when you're like you actually pay attention to that type of thing, or when you've noticed the signs and the kind of like lazy script writing that often happens, like on that awful The Good Doctor show. And there's about a dozen we could do.
I'm so bummed out that like, so The Good Doctor, I have not seen any. I saw the pilot, it was not good, and but I've
seen like somebody put together like a master clip reel of like the worst of like him having autism fits, basically. With like, and it was something that like would have been bad in the 80s,
right? Well, the thing that drives me a little crazy is that like that show's so popular that they got a backdoor pilot for a spinoff, and the spinoff, The Good Lawyer.
Okay. I was gonna make a joke that it was like, is it The Young Good Doctor? And it's just like the whole him is like a Doogie Howser, which he's even younger because he's already young, but like even younger.
No, this one's so it's The Good Lawyer. It was Kennedy McMahon who played Nancy Drew on the CW show. And the thing about it that was really interesting is that she plays this lawyer who comes in and who has like severe OCD. And Kennedy McMahon herself has moderate OCD, and like she was actually playing things that she could relate to, and I was really interested in that. I was like, what a great way to kind of incorporate the critiques of a show like this by taking someone who's already a pretty talented actor, who's really good on camera, and who like actually knows what she's doing in this scenario, and giving her this, like, it's like the Monk thing. It's like Monk obviously makes a meal out of OCD and ADHD, and the pilot did not get picked up. It's actually this week, I think they finally killed it, because it was just one of those things they hung on to for the longest time. And I think it was just like, if the actors had taken a little longer to make a deal and you're just stuck with what you've already got on the shelf, they would have probably picked it up. But it was just one of those things, like, I don't know that it would have been any good, but it is certainly a bummer when you're like, that had a lot of potential to be good, at least. And you're now 9 seasons into like the crappy version or whatever it is.
It's always amazing. It's always, sorry, there's this we should get back to our list, but like it's because we should actually like talk about this at some point. It's like a whole thing, but
we can put a pin in, like, this can be an episode sometime.
But it's just talking about like those random ass fucking shows, like other than CSI, which like I think everybody knows. God damn it, what was it, like Chicago Fire or something like that. Like they announced that it was ending. It's not Chicago Fire, but it's like one of those shows that's like third tier, and it like got 7 fucking seasons. And
well,
then, like somebody on Twitter was just like, "The show got 7. What?
Oh,
what
I know.
is going on?"
Chicago Fire is on the front page of Comic Book right now because one of the main cast is leaving.
Yeah.
And it was like fan favorite. I didn't even click on the article to see who it was because I've never watched the show, so it wouldn't mean anything to me. But the headline was like fan favorite actor leaves after 12 seasons. And you're just like, that's been 12 seasons?
12 years? Like I remember that show coming out, and then I feel like I must have blacked out for 12 years. Because I've watched a bunch of it on TikTok because it's hilariously bad. And like one of the actors was
the first one, right?
What's that?
Fire was the first one.
I don't know what its lineage is, whether it's part of the it part of the medical thing?
I think it is. I think it's like a Shondaland show, and it like ties in with, but I'm not positive. I know there's a bunch of Chicago shows that are all one thing because they had like a one Chicago crossover. Yeah. Anyway, I am aware objectively that this franchise has been going for a while because Colin Donnell, after being killed off in the first season of Arrow, went to star on one of those shows. Yeah. And so you're sitting here going, okay, so Arrow's 11 years old. That means 11 years ago, Colin left to go do some Chicago something.
Like if you just like really love acting, like, and just like showing up every day and kind of doing the business, and you're not really caring about like, winning Oscars or, or anything like that, man, that is like such a good fucking game. Like get the residuals of 11 years of a show that will never go away on a network that like needs to keep that, it's like then we got one fucking show and like whatever, or one area, and then you go on to another one of those shows that like the right boomer crowd loves, and a younger boomer crowd, like a Gen X too. But like, man, like you're not buying. You're probably buying mansions actually. Like I was just like, you're not buying mansions, but I'm like, you probably actually are.
You probably are.
Maybe not in the Malibu, but like,
but
Hollywood,
But all those people who like moved to Phoenix are getting the biggest fucking house in town. I similarly, I've been really excited for them as much as I feel like it's a waste of talent. Olivia Swan and Lisbeth Chavez, who played Astrologue and Spooner on Legends of Tomorrow. Olivia is on NCIS Sydney right now. I think it's an international show that is only now coming to the US because of the strike. That's what I think it is. I'm not positive. And then Lisbeth Chavez got hired on The Rookie. Cool. And so like happy to see them doing work that's going to like pay all their bills now that Legends is over. But it's also kind of like, as somebody who's seen them do some really cool, really interesting stuff and some really good comedy, I'm like, they can't do any of that where they are right now.
It is interesting because it's like there is definitely two, and again, this is me not going back to our notes, but it is interesting, like as an actor, do you want to do something that gets seen by everybody, like the most number of people, and like you walk down the street in any town in America and there's a really good chance you're going to be noticed and like loved, or do you want to be like, basically, or do you do what oh my god, what the fuck, I can never remember, Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe does, which is like, fuck you guys, playing a corpse, and just like do the most insane things, which like I respect the fuck out of both of them, because it's like, pay those fucking bills, but also at the same time, like Daniel Radcliffe does not ever have to worry about anything, just like the kid from Malcolm in the Middle, like, which I always loved because he like was quoted many times of being like, I have $40 million from doing that show, I don't need to do fucking anything. Like, and he was also on it like too, so like,
and also like that show was made back when residuals were actually like a thing, and so like I imagine you're still making a decent amount of money off it every year. I will say before we get back to the list, which we got to do, like that's an interesting question, and again, something we could probably explore in a whole episode down the line, because like it fundamentally is the Marvel question, right?
Yeah.
Like, and for a lot of people, they get actual joy out of playing those parts.
Yeah.
Like whether or not you consider it high art, whether whatever. I certainly don't think Scarlett Johansson considers playing Black Widow high art.
Yeah.
But like there are people who do those parts and who genuinely find creative satisfaction out of it.
Yeah.
And there are some who don't like need creative satisfaction. Yeah. They want work. They like having an audience that cares about what they're doing, so it is a really interesting conversation. And I think there's a lot of levels to it, because there is stuff that's just like straight trash, but like super consumable trash. And so it's like, oh, well, people will recognize you, but like they'll, it's bottom of it. And then there's like Marvel stuff, which I think Marvel is like super middle of the road. I think very little of it is actually trash. But it's still like, there's a stigma and it's not super deep and blah, blah, blah. Like, unless you're, you luck into like, oh shit, I got to do the James Gunn one or the, whatever.
Yeah. Or you're just you're like Mark Ruffalo, who you're actually a good actor and can, but I don't know. It's fascinating though, because it's such a, like your lasting memory. Like you could do a million films. Like, I mean, like no matter what Robert Pattinson does, he's the guy from Twilight. He can play Batman for the next decade. He's the guy from Twilight. And I know how he feels about that. He's pretty honest about it, which but no one cares. Like, which is also something that's fascinating, is that everyone knows like how he feels about it. No one cares.
I love the fact that like the public at large so completely broke down Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart that like they've spent the next 10 years just being like, fuck it, I'll say whatever comes into my head.
Yeah.
Like there's this clip of Kristen Stewart that pops back up every so often of like some like reporter from like a second tier, but it was still on screen at the time. Obviously not everybody had video.
Yeah.
But some reporter making some joke about like the scene in the last movie where she turns into a vampire and arm wrestles Boo Stewart, I think it was.
Yeah.
And she just like challenges the guy to arm wrestle in the middle of the interview, because she didn't have anything interesting to say about that. Yeah. But she was just like, this is some chubby middle-aged guy. I could beat him. Like
yeah.
And it's just
I wish she would have she's one of those few people that like is in that world where I'm like, I wish upon her a better career. I mean, she's had a great career. Like, let's not like, she is never going to complain, I'm dead broke. Like she's she's doing that sparkly vampire money to the end of the days. But also she's had like, I mean, she's had a fantastic run of movies. Like for every 3 movies that are not great, she does a really good one. It just doesn't.
The big thing is she just hasn't had that magical combination yet of like the good movie that actually connects with people. Radcliffe had Swiss Army Man, which wasn't a huge blockbuster, but it did connect with people in a very visceral way. It allowed him to like find a new audience. Obviously the same things happened with Pattinson like 3 more times, because he worked with Cronenberg and he did the not the Watchtower.
The
Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse, which is
the Lighthouse. And he did
one
Batman.
of those very few films that I'm like, kind of wish I could unsee, but it's such a weird fucking thing. I mean, I love the fact that like you have 2 of the some of the biggest Hollywood stars in America doing this, the weirdest fucking thing you'll ever see, and I'm like, man, this is what I miss. This is like what I like. This is when, now that cinema is so goddamn cheap, like there's no excuse for this not happening all the fucking time.
You need to have a double feature with like The Lobster.
Yes. Yeah. We could do a whole run on Colin Farrell's like weird life choices, which again, like a man who I respect the fuck out of.
For sure.
But yeah, our first I think we touched upon a couple of the things, but like my first story that I had to pull up, I'm gonna try now that we're doing video on this.
I need to get a cough button now that we're doing video.
This is how bad I am with there we go, share screen. Make sure there's nothing bad up on my screen. Okay. Share. Can you see the
oh yeah. The sequel one, yes.
So why is it bringing up this? Nope, not the video that I clicked on. That's very weird. Anyway, there's a Taylor Swift fans, rule the world at this point. And so it's been kind of hilarious because she's re-released 89 or whatever that's
1989, yeah.
1989. And I guess there's been like videos of like basically Swift fans trying to figure out how to open CDs, which respect, like when they first came out, they were very difficult to open. So I mean, it's not like it's nothing to... So anyway, like
also it looks like she has a like 90s style like Amaray style CD instead of the cardboard ones, which is obviously
which is kind of surprising, but it's also, I do enjoy the, like, this is what you would have gotten in 1980. Actually, you would have gotten the huge, remember when you bought them from like BJ's, or you bought them from a couple other stores that had the huge like plastic around them? That would have been badass if she came out with those. But
I'm sure somebody's got to be doing that, because you got all these people who are doing like retro cassette releases and stuff since Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. If we ever come out with a CD for this show, we need to do that. Get like a 3D print, somebody to do a 3D printer for those like long, huge things. I don't know where you'd find that file to like remake those things. I'm sure somebody's got them somewhere. On
somebody's
eBay.
got to have done it.
Like just because there's probably never figured out how to like not break the CD. Like I had a couple CDs where I'm like, BJ's didn't take it out. I used to buy BJ, the wholesale club used to sell like really cheap CDs. And so like I had a couple that I literally just had to shatter the Amaray case to get the CD out. It was very stressful. But yeah, anyway, like what we watch for basically there's baby Swifties learning on what a CD is, and it's hilarious because also what's
I feel
really
bad
sad
because
is,
like, of course, on top of this, you have this 12-year-old girl with a broken arm, and so it's like trying to teach her how to do the push down and pull up thing, and it's like she doesn't even have two hands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing too is that like, oh my God, who was explaining this to me? I had a friend who was talking about that they just got one of their kids got a CD or something like that of something old, and they were angry at their mom for not having a CD player, and they didn't have a CD player in their computer, and they didn't, and they were like, I actually don't own a CD player. You probably do, but like I actually don't own a CD. I guess I could play it in my DVD player. But I mean, like if somebody handed me
I have so many goddamn optical drives in this house, actually. First of all, because like every time I get a new computer, that's a priority. Like my next computer, this one's dying. I am building my next computer so that way I don't have to work around and like pay, because like you end up paying like an extra $250 for the privilege of having a $40 drive in there. It's fucking ridiculous. But so anyway, but yeah, so I have every computer I have in the house has an optical drive except for my work computer, because I don't own it. CBS does. And then like there's a CD player that's attached to my record player, and like we have 2 Blu-ray players and 3 DVD players in the house, and all this. Like I have so much fucking stuff, and like I have so many optical drives. It's funny because like I actually was in the basement today, and I recently moved my office up here because I've had a constant head cold, and I'm like, I wonder if that's from being down here with all the mold and radon. And so I moved my stuff upstairs, at least for the time being, and so I pulled I had a small TV and VHS DVD combo in my workshop, and so I pulled that up so my daughter could watch something the other day, and I was down there today, and there's no TV down there, but there is a CED player, 2 VCRs, and then a VHS DVD combo that's got the cassette part eats the tape. And I was like, I keep thinking like, I'll go in and fix this. And then today I'm just like, I'm not going to fix that. I'm going to put it on eBay for $20 for parts because it's an easy enough fix. But the problem with opening those CD or the DVD combo ones is that like if anything happens to the DVD, it's not fixable. Yeah. So you've completely ruined it by trying to open it and fix it. And meanwhile, like I kept the combo back when I had one VCR in the house because I was like, if anything happens to it, I can fix this.
Yeah.
Now that I have 3 other standalone VCRs plus a camcorder that has a VC, like a playback function.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I really don't need this stupid combo anymore. I'll put it up on like josiebook.com and sell it as like an ECV VCR.
Sorry, I'm looking for hold on one second. I'll have to edit this for 1 second. I just have to find something to show you. Okay, I'm back. I probably will forget to edit that. But here's one of my favorite.
Oh, nice.
That I gotta get did.
She's writing too.
The film, unfortunately, still the other one is still missing.
Everyone looks like Satan in Night Vision.
Yeah. Right Before Dawn, a film that you weren't in this, were you?
No, because I think that was my freshman year. I think I was at Wizard when you guys made that.
Yeah. It was
you should bring that with you though next time you come to town because like I can digitize that for you.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. If I don't, like, I have to get around to doing as well because there's a bunch of things that I need to digitize. But yeah, anyway, so the VHS for people who couldn't see or are listening, since we're still trying to figure out this whole video / audio formatting thing. Ironically, I think.
Yeah, anybody who's listening, by the way, send us an email if you have a strong preference about listening to this on Substack versus listening to it on Podbean. Because I once again got charged for the year of Podbean, and so now I've paid $230.
Yeah, we should definitely cross upload then, no matter what. But I was holding up a VHS tape, TDK AQ Advanced Quality. Hold on 1 second. Yep, no mold. And for people who know, you know, and I'll have to tag him on this.
Although for that one, it would have been worth baking it, like to save that.
Yes. Oh no, 100%. This is the only thing that versions, and it was edited. Anyway, so I can explain what the hell it is. It's a film that me and a buddy of mine, or mutual buddy of ours, CS Muncie, made in the super fun site Cement. Abandoned cement factory near our hometown, and it's a homage kind of to oh my god, what's the film? Blair Witch Project, because it's all improv and basically everyone dies at the end type of thing, and it's Right Before Dawn titled because we finished filming right before dawn and that was the level of creativity. But I edited it on and Russ has one of these VHS players. I edited on 2 VHS players that I stacked on top of each other because we didn't finish it until like the night before it was due, and so I stayed up until like 4 o'clock in the morning editing up between 2 tapes. I think we got like a B in the class. We were the only people that actually made our own film because our first script got nixed because it was a paparazzi version of Grosse Pointe Blank, and but it was way too violent because Columbine had just happened, and so they're like no, and so we did a film where everyone dies.
Yeah.
No,
but it was unscripted. They couldn't say no.
yeah. Well, also just everyone just kind of dies. Like I forget, like they just like we turn around and be like, oh no, Jim's dead. And then somebody else is dead, and we all probably have lung cancer from it because again, the silica or the silt that was at the bottom.
Yeah.
God, I don't even want
one of these days I wish that we would find the sequel, the unofficial sequel. We made a movie called, not a real movie, but we shot something that we ended up calling Everyone Looks Like Satan in Night Vision.
Yeah,
which was really just like
vision.
And because everybody's eyes had that
glow.
Anyway though, but it was just before you guys went to college. I had come back from my freshman year and we all stood up on top of the silo at that same cement factory and like filmed essentially just us talking about life and like how scared everybody was for like growing up.
God only knows what would happen. I mean, like Yeah, we were also innocent considering it was 1999 and nothing really had gone bad like in our lives realistically. Like everything was going
things
up.
got real very quickly after
Yeah.
that.
There was Bush v. Gore, and then there was 9/11, and then there was the Bush administration for 8 years. Anyway, but let's leave the kind of the movie news to the end. But something that really didn't get like a lot of attention, I don't think. Netflix's, we talked about it last month, obviously, but and we talked about missing that kind of availability of DVDs and how like having a monthly subscription service, it really was like, if I thought that they had like everything planned out, which I don't know, I don't think that they necessarily did. They're like that, back in, that they said, oh, we're going to do physical DVDs and then we're going to like work people into paying a monthly fee to do this type of thing, whatever. It would have been genius. It would be genius. But but they got rid of that, obviously, unfortunately. But they did, if you go to DVD.com, right now, you can see a bunch of short documentaries that are really kind of sad. I don't know if you watched any of them. I watched a couple. They're very short. They're like 3 minutes. You
told me about it, and then I completely forgot.
But yeah, I don't know if we need to watch any of them because they were really kind of like their employees talking about like what it was like and like what people would send them back. When we should
definitely make it a point to rip them and like have them, because it feels like the kind of thing that'll be lost media in 5 years.
Should we make DVDs of them? Put them on eBay.
I was gonna say, or a VHS.
Yeah, just completely retro. I mean, like Laserdisc. We're gonna do this real. But I would definitely check it out if you were a subscriber to the old Netflix.
It reminds me a bit of there was a short documentary called Last Day for Videos. I think you can watch it on YouTube. It got a very limited run on VHS, and I missed it by like an hour. Which was just filmed in a family video on the day that the whole company shut down. Or not the day the whole company shut down, the last day for rentals before everything went into liquidation. And so they talked to a couple of regulars. They talked to the manager of the store and some other folks like that. And it was pretty well done, but it was just very sad because there's no positive to take away from that. It's just like, hey, this thing that we all really enjoyed and that also like employed 12 people doesn't exist anymore because like it's better for Reed Hastings to make an extra $80 a year.
Is it Alma? Is it about family video, right? Okay, I'll put that. I'll put the I found that it's like 7 minutes long or something like that. At least this clip that I found. And
that's one of my critiques of not just that, but like Lunch Meat Video in general. Lunch Meat has been doing a bunch of like short run VHS releases for people who do short films, and it's really cool to like have that opportunity. But also, they're one of the only places doing like licensed real VHS that has any kind of production value. And it seems like it's really frustrating because it's not cheap, obviously. Like you end up paying like $25 for a tape. And so it's like, it's frustrating when you're paying $25 for a tape and it's 7 minutes long. And like, I get that that's like the people who are coming to them, but also I have a hard time believing that they couldn't convince people to do some features. I mean, Witter Entertainment is doing some really cool shit. I don't know if you saw, I wish that I had money right now because I would have bought this for myself for Christmas. Witter Entertainment is doing a VHS release of the 2 Creepshow holiday episodes from the new TV show that's on Shudder, the one that Greg Nicotero from The Walking Dead runs.
Okay.
I think one was live action and one's animated. They might both be animated, but in any event, there were 2 Christmas episodes. They're both coming out on a tape. Like now, I think you can just order it now and get it in 3 days. Last time I looked, that had not sold out yet, which shocked me because Witter Entertainment is one of those sites where it's just like they routinely sell out, especially when you have like the fancy big boxes of stuff like Black Friday and Yoga Hosers and Mandy. Like that stuff tends to routinely sell out within like 2 hours.
No, I have here's my Mandy.
I bought you Mandy for Christmas one year.
Oh, I forgot it has the stickers on the inside.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It comes with the not rated horror, be kind, please rewind. And my favorite one, which was where this VHS will melt if left in the sun.
Yeah. Which is so funny. Like, I remember being at Three Rivers Video, which was just in Phoenix. They had a plaza called the Three Rivers Plaza, and they had like a Big M and a drugstore and a video store and some other stuff. And everything was just called Three Rivers because like the people who owned the plaza owned everything. And I just remember seeing those, like the ones that actually did get left out and got all melted and warped.
Yeah.
And then like the number of times that I carelessly left tapes in my car and nothing ever happened. Like, how long? And
I think you had to leave them like in the like on the dash. Like
that was my other thing is like I feel like people were just like handing them to their kids and the kids put them in the back of the back window of the car or something.
Yeah, or the microwave or something like that. Yeah.
Just like, because I remember seeing that and then being like, wow, that's wild. And then never in my life did I have anything remotely resembling that actually happen. And I'm just like, how did you do that?
Yeah. The one thing that's I'm loving, if this is going to become a thing or if this is just extremely esoteric, because it's Evil Dead, is that Evil Dead is getting a proper, which I honestly like. I thought this was like, oh, it's one of those, like, remember those DVDs you could buy at Walmart that look like a VHS, type of thing. I was like, this one, I'm like, oh no, this seems to actually be a VHS. That's actually
I actually awesome. Have a bunch of those because like the publicist who was doing them reached out to me at one point. And so I have like Who's Harry Crumb, True Lie, and not True Lies, The Last Action Hero, Hudson Hawk, and I have John Wick. All in that like, and it's like, it's nice packaging. It's still not as good as, if you remember the first season of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Target had an exclusive Blu-ray that like didn't just look like there was a VHS printed on the thing. It was like a big box, like a rental store cover box. And so it actually like on the shelf looks like a tape.
That's cool. The other one that I found cool, where is this?
For anybody listening though, that Evil Dead 2 one looks badass because it's not just like a VHS reissue where it's just like, oh well, we know there's some nostalgic value to this, so we'll just put the same tape back out. It's got cool new art. It's got like a fake blood spatter on the tape. It's something that would have been special even if VHS was the dominant medium right now. Like,
certainly.
Obviously it's just a nostalgia play, but as nostalgia plays go, it's one of the very cool ones.
Most certainly. It is something that you'd actually kind of want and have it's kind of like the Mandy one has like really great art on the front of it. But this one, like, it looks like,
and a bunch of the Witter ones too have had like cool random, like either the big box like I was talking about, or you'll get like special colored clamshells. I actually saw somebody doing a bootleg the other day where there was a translucent pink shell, not clamshell because that's the case, just the shell of the tape, like the actual plastic. I saw somebody who did a translucent pink shell for a Barbie VHS.
I saw one of those.
Like, too. Holy crap, I want that! And of course, it was sold out before I even got. I mean, and again, like, I don't love buying bootlegs when I know that I'm buying bootlegs. I prefer to like not. But sometimes I'm just like, as just an art object, like, it's so nice. I'll pay, like, because that's the thing. Like, there's a guy on Mercari, which is just like a thrift store app basically, and there's a guy on there who's always selling tapes, but it's like the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, and when you click on his thing, it's not like this lovingly handcrafted. It's like clearly he just like puts it on in the background and dumps it onto the tape. And like, it's the cases that he's selling are like really lazy. There's no art on the like, there's no, like, you're just buying a bootleg. It's like the kind of thing you would have gotten for $5 in Chinatown in 2000. And like, I never support those people because I'm just like, this is gross. But like, people who like make the tape, like create bespoke art and like do cool stuff with the tapes. I'm like, you know what, I can kind of buy this as like transformative art.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if nothing
even
else,
if it's
like,
ostensibly a bootleg.
I mean, something that
That,
I'd like to go through and do is start making just getting a bunch of these Amaray cases and then like making art for that, just as like a fun side project and type of thing. Not doing the whole DVD, not doing that, but maybe just like figuring out how to like put a DVD case in there and just like buying it like for some, you know, for some more 80s and 90s when they do reissues of things. Like
yeah,
that
I
would
mean,
be fun.
I'd be down for doing that with you, because it's one of those things. I obviously I made a Captain Marvel one when that movie came out because of the blockbuster in the the beginning of the movie. And I've done some stuff like that where I've created some like bespoke art for whatever tape I was, and like I've never actually gotten around to going and like dumping stuff onto tape, because like it's pain in the butt. It's a lot easier to digitize tape than it is to dump something digital onto VHS.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no. One more story we have is let me do the share again. It is fortunately a Fox Business story, but what are we gonna do?
This is, though, it's funny, we talked about this a little bit before, and then we found out that the person who had raised this concern was like some weird reactionary. So at least Fox is like,
I think this is a new that was like a weird op-ed in like a local paper. This is more of like an actual, like, I hate to say, like they actually have some academics talking in this one.
Well, that's what I was saying. Even though it's Fox, we're moving in the right direction to have
no, this Reinventing History, experts warn of the end of physical media will give tech giants even greater control. And it is something, I mean, there's like, I tried to find like a pull quote that's like kind of fascinating or kind of interesting, but it's not there's not really necessarily anything. It's like let's see. When other people control how we consume media, they effectively control what we consume, said Pusio, who works as a teaching associate at Columbia and a guest lecturer at NYU. If I own physical copies of a book and keep them in my personal library in my home, it is unlikely that someone is going to decide to dispossess me of half of them for murky reasons. If that library consists of ebooks rather than physical books, it is much more likely that I could lose half my collection, which is, I think that's something, I mean, mind you, like, it was interesting because I saw earlier today on Twitter, somebody was like, who are the people that are buying digital copies of albums right now, as opposed to just streaming them, which is something that, like, I actually was like, I almost said me, and then I said, I don't know when the last time I bought a digital album was. Like, after Google Play went away, basically was like, go fuck yourself, like, figure it out, which is what they did, and then kind of forced me into doing what is it, YouTube Music now. For an
I'm still getting some
price.
stuff. Some distributors still participate in auto rip on Amazon, so that if you buy a CD, it just like magically appears in your account as something that you own, that you own anything on. But it's not, it's like something that it says you own. It's in your collection, and it's not something you stream. The new Gaslight Anthem just randomly showed up at like midnight the day before it was delivered to me.
That's something that's
the Stones album did not, which came out the same week.
I've been putting off watching Indiana Jones, the new one, because I don't want to pay the 25, I think it's still $25 on Vudu, or it's $20 on Vudu for just a digital, because I know for a fact that I would like to buy a set when they come out with a set. I may hold off on that. But like, I at least want to buy the physical version of whatever the version, like whether it be a steelbook version, there's a couple different nice copies coming out of it. Because I'm like, it's theoretically the last one. Who the fuck knows anymore? But that's something I actually physically want, and I would like to go through. I think I own two of them physically. I think I have to get I think I might actually no, I think I might actually have the first trilogy on a box set.
I have the first three on DVD because I have one of the ones from Emerald City.
Nice.
That was the 4 DVD set that was like the 3
Yeah.
movies and then that like a bonus features disc.
Yeah.
I never bought Crystal Skull because honestly I don't have any interest in watching it again.
Yeah. I may, but if it's in a box set, I'll obviously get it out of just as opposed to
now that there's a 5th
things.
one, I'll probably end up doing that because I actually enjoyed the 5th one. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it at least felt like an Indiana Jones movie. And so like I now that there's a 5th one, I'll probably buy whatever the next box set is, just because like before I was like, it's only one movie. It's a movie I'll never watch again. Yeah. And I already own the other 3. Mm-hmm. Now that it's 2 movies, it's like, it's probably worth the extra.
It's also, I don't think I have Blu-ray of any of them. I think I have DVDs.
That's the same for me.
And so I'm just like, okay, that's just justification. Like I assume they'll come out with like a new clean version, everything good version, and we'll pay $100 for it or something. and I'll be like, okay, fucking.
I haven't picked up the new Clerks box set. I desperately want it. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It looks like the block of stores on the front. Yeah. And when you open the place where you open it on the back is the tape return from RSD Video.
Yeah.
But it's like $120 or some crazy thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this is literally the same Blu-rays that I already own in a very nice box. And I can't, like, eventually it'll be like, eventually it'll get down to like $40-$50. And I'll be able to get to justify it and then just sell my old ones for $5 on eBay. But like at 120, it's just, I know, man, I would love to own this. No way. But it is interesting and it's instructive as far as where the market's going. Cause like you're seeing this Clerks thing that's $120. Recently, I don't know if you saw this, Disney released a gigantic box set. It's their Disney 100 thing. Yeah. And it's like celebrating 100 years of animation with 100 animated feature films. And the box set is like $1,500. And like, it's not a discount because a lot of those movies are only available on DVD for $5. Most of the Blu-rays that are in mainstream, that are like in circulation, are $15 Blu-rays at Target and Walmart. This is only a deal if A, you're a super collector and you want the stuff that comes with it, and or B, you really are like you have a really nice setup and you just really need to get Peter Pan 2: Return to Neverland in 4K. But I think that those kinds of things.
Sorry, I was just like looking for it and I didn't find it anywhere, but I found it on eBay for $2,000.
Yeah, that's probably it. It might be on. I think it was exclusive to Walmart. But in any event, I feel like these things are instructive in terms of how the studios are trying to adjust to the changing market. I think that like they've seen that there's pushback when they try to remove physical from the equation completely. And so now what they're trying to do is they're trying to make the experience of owning physical more of a luxury thing and be like, no, but you're going to pay us way more, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's definitely like, especially for, the hundreds of films, because I mean, it's not just a couple films, it's hundreds of films that people have, I mean, maybe it wouldn't be, they'll figure out the numbers and be like, oh, Josie and Pussycats doesn't have, for the 30th anniversary, it's not enough to come out with a special 4K, cat ear box set or something like that. Even though 3D printer idea. I
actually
own, but
we
probably and you could get it okayed by the directors too. So
well, my pair of the Hero headphones that I had, like the textured ones that like for close-ups, I ended up selling them because I'm so broke right now, and because they were already broken. One of the ears was missing, and like not the ears, but like one of the earpieces, and but the guy, by random coincidence, the guy who I sold them to, he's like a guy who does this stuff. And so he's making a mold, and we're going to like make copies and sell them on josiebook.com.
Nice.
As like, no, look, like here's a prop replica that's made from a mold of the original prop.
Yeah.
It's as close as you're going to get to a screen used hero thing, because they're basically not findable anymore. And meanwhile, I still have not only my stunt ears, but also the crazy ones I have over here in my display case that was like a steel ring with plaster. That was like the thing the prop master sculpted to be like, hey, is this okay? But yeah, so we literally will. That's a great idea for a DVD case, because like I'll have molds of the ears very soon.
Just go around the whole thing. We could do one with the princess too, and get the writers to like you're like kind of licensed.com.
Well, and also with something like Josie, I mean, obviously we don't have a 4K version or any of that kind of stuff, but like with something like Josie, once we made the case, we could just like buy the $15 Blu-ray and put it in the special case and be like, hey, here's a collector's edition that's like really cool, blah, blah, blah. I'll include a special CD that's like my commentary track and a bunch of my interviews with the director or whatever, and like voila. Anyway, we've talked a lot about this theoretical thing that we'll probably never actually get around to doing.
Because before we leave the physical and kind of go into things, I have to I did a open box of this, which I always found ridiculous, but actually did moderately well on my TikTok, which is always surprising when anyone wants to watch any of this type of stuff. But I bought because I thought I had money. A lot of things happened this week that proved me wrong, but in the meantime I bought the Everything Everywhere All at Once like A24 special edition box set thing, which like it's $42, which is not a lot for a special edition Blu-ray thing. I won't go through and show everything, because obviously whatever, I'll link my my open box thing on it. But it is like really nice. The DVD, the Blu-ray is a everything bagel, for spoilers. And then on the inside there's like receipts and a whole like a decent sized poster with really great
a bunch
art.
of prop replicas, basically, because like the props in that movie were all paper props.
Like a bunch of receipts for different, like for the karaoke machine and things like that. It's just a really like well done thing. Like I kept getting it, like it was advertised to me endlessly on TikTok. I have this movie poster which I still have to get fucking framed, but it is one of those that I have to get nicely framed though, because it is already worth it's worth a couple $100. But yeah, highly recommend. Like they have a bunch of these. If there's any of the A24 stuff, I was a little skeptical because I don't know, spending, I don't like to spend more than $20 for anything like Blu-ray physical media wise, just because I would say probably 80% of my collection is used. But I'm super happy with this. I wish that I could justify, just because it's a nice, on the shelf thing. It looks like a book. I wish I could justify, but I'm like, there's not a lot of other A24 films. I like A24 films, but like not enough to like spend the.
No,
it's kind of like the
I
Criterion thing, like where it's just like there's a ton of but there's like out of the 1,000 Criterion films, there's probably 100 that I want to physically own. Unless someone was just to like go, oh, here's everything. Here's a $30,000 gift card to Criterion.com. Which, by the way, right now, if you go in the Criterion channel, switching over to streaming, they're having a celebration of Parker Posey, and fucking Josie and the Pussycats is supposedly on Criterion now.
Actually, awesome. The image you sent me of the Parker Posey collection that has Josie on it, I sent it to Harry and Deb, who directed Josie and the Pussycats. And it was like, hey, did you guys see this thing? And the link that you sent me didn't work because like they weren't logged into our Facebook account.
Fair.
but when but they were like, but we did hear that it's like on Criterion now. That's awesome. And so apparently like it's on there, and which is great because like Josie often is not streaming for free. And so if it's streaming for free, but also on Criterion, I'm like, I approve of this. Yeah.
I just love the lineup of films that you can watch. Like Parker Posey, who is fantastic, and I love her, and a fellow alumni of SUNY Purchase. But which it was the way I found out about it was because I'm on a SUNY Purchase alumni group on Facebook, which is the only alumni group I'm on for a school that I dropped out of back in 2000. And they were like, "Oh my God," and like, "Oh, it's my friend Parker," and like, because there's a bunch of people there that like went to school with her at the time. We were like, "Oh, I used to smoke on the roof with her," or whatever. But back when SUNY Purchase was like more known as a heroin school than it was anything. Anyway, but like the Hal Hartley days of like It's Wild, her like career, like I fucking love
his new movie, by the way, is on Kickstarter right now.
I know. Like, I don't know whether to be happy about that or like.
Yeah. I'm ambivalent too, but it's a thing that exists. You can get bonus features and stuff.
Yeah. On the other hand, I mean, like fucking hell, like if I was a director like Hal Hartley, and needed it. I mean, hell, if I was like director like Kevin Smith, I would probably do Kickstarters. Just be like,
oh yeah,
like I'm sure he could raise $3 million. But yeah, I think that's it for the like physical media side of things. We had there's like one last story that it looks like Hulu and Disney Plus is going to combine, which is writing on the wall type of thing. But there was like going back and forth or not, whether or not like for a while Disney was talking about selling it.
The way it worked was that Disney, when Disney took over Fox's share, because it previously had been a three-way thing, and taking over Fox's share meant that they had majority control. And so NBC did not want that. They didn't want to be stuck in a situation where Disney could just unilaterally make all these decisions for them. So basically NBC, they negotiated this deal to avoid antitrust concerns that was basically like, here's the current valuation in 2024. If NBC calls them and says like, okay, you're buying now, they had to pay a certain minimum or whatever the valuation was at the time, or whatever, a number to be negotiated later, basically. And so the as it got closer and closer, the Comcast people had expressed interest in buying Disney out instead of the other way around. And I do not know if that was ever a really credible idea. I don't know if that was ever a thing they really thought they were going to do, or if it was just talking like that in order to like tell Disney you're not getting out of it for the minimum. Certainly, Disney's paying, I think, $8 billion. And as far as I know, they're not merging in North America yet. They're still going to exist as independent services because Disney still hasn't quite figured out what they want to do about the fact that Disney Plus is being branded as a family thing. And so they like having Hulu as a place where they can drop all of their adult content.
It'd be weird to have like the latest Predator film on Disney.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I would love to see a Predator Lilo and Stitch crossover. I'm just saying.
That would be, but in any event, the thing that's really interesting, of course, is that Comcast has supposedly been having unofficial, possibly illegal conversations with David Zaslav about the possibility of buying Warner Brothers from Discovery in 2024. This is a rumor that's persisted basically from day one of the Warner Brothers Discovery merger, and basically that it's like he just wanted to like control this studio as like a status thing, and eventually he was going to flip it. I don't know how plausible that is, considering that he sucked out 3/4 of the market cap. But like right now,
possibly more plausible now if it's like not worth a fucking penny.
The funny thing is that like if that deal were to happen right now, and if it were to pass muster with the government, which was more of a question now than it would have been 5 years ago because of the fact that they're finally trying to do something about antitrust. But like in any event, if that were to happen, the amount of money that Disney is paying for Hulu is basically the current market valuation of Warner Brothers because they've tanked the stock so much.
I can't imagine buying.
There is. Oh, there is like some conspiratorial element of people being like, oh, so that's why NBC gave up on the Hulu thing because they need the cash so they can buy Warner Brothers. And it's like, no,
because
I think they gave up on the Hulu thing because Hulu was never really gonna. I mean, that's God. The fact that Warner Brothers is so desperate for cash that they've been licensing all their best stuff out to Netflix again has completely got all of those people unhinged because the fantasy that was never ever going to happen in a million years that like they would let Netflix make new DC films. Still a total fantasy, still never going to happen. But now that like Netflix is going to be the streaming home of Blue Beetle or whatever, people are like, oh, see, it's closer, it's going to happen. It's like, no, it's not. I mean, and the thing is, I never thought it was impossible for the Snyder Cut to happen.
Yeah.
I thought it was likely to happen down the line in some way, somehow. Because, like, you look at the Donner cut of Superman, there's a precedent. You consider the fact that, like, all of VFX were being done in computers. And so, like, you can fill in the blanks later without reshoots. And obviously Snyder got reshoots because they decided to do it when they did it instead of 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But like, I never thought the Snyder Cut was actually impossible. And so many people really, really did. And like, so many people were on Twitter being like, this is a fantasy. You're crazy people. This is never going to happen. Shut the fuck up and go away.
Yeah.
And so after 5 years of that, and then the Snyder Cut coming out, now it's impossible to talk reason to people because anytime you say, this is not going to happen, it's not possible, they're like, haha, but that's what they told us last time. I'm like, that wasn't me. I was actually with you last time. This is not happening.
No, it's sad. But you know, there's millions of people that think that Donald Trump has been president for the last 3 years and will somehow come back. Anyway, I don't want to get into that conversation, but I guess on that note, just talking about Warner Brothers, and clusterfucks of the Acme level of ridiculousness. What a wild ride. Let's actually have to click on the link of when this story was, because I don't remember when it was that I think
it started on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Kill it on the 9th. Warner Brothers, the Hollywood Reporter reported how Warner Brothers here, let me share the screen so you remember. Warner Brothers shelves John Cena's Coyote versus Acme movie a year after it completed filming, exclusive. The feature was greenlit as an HBO Max film before considered for a theatrical release. And so basically on November 9th, they were going to do basically what they did to Batgirl and disappear it in the night. And but wow, I don't know. You covered a bit more of this. If you could talk more about what this like little wild ride of a like literally a week now it's been. So I mean, it what happened was, from what I understand, because of course Warner Brothers never officially announced that they were spiking the movie. It came out through the Hollywood Reporter. I think Boris Kitt wrote this. Whoever it was is like, Boris Kitt and Aaron Couch, and they're both really credible dudes. THR is obviously one of the big trades, and so they like Hollywood Reporter broke this, and Warner Brothers did not respond for comment. But then people involved with the movie all took to social media to basically say this is an outrage. The director talked about how sad he was. The guy who scored it, who's an Academy Award winner, released a behind the scenes video of
a Tchaikovsky's 1812 overture, but with a giant like 64 person chorus all doing the Roadrunner meep.
Yeah.
And so very quickly it became clear that this is a little different than the Batgirl and the Scoob Holiday Haunt situations. People were outraged about those and people were offended by those, but a lot of the people who cared were the audience. Yeah. In this instance, what happened was that filmmakers took note, because this movie was not only 100% completed, but also had already done a number of test screenings, and the screenings went incredibly well, apparently.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of people had seen this movie, knew that it was finished, knew that it was good. Mm-hmm. And also, besides starring John Cena and being a Looney Tunes movie, which ostensibly is still one of Warner's crown jewels, even though really they don't act like it. Yeah. But on top of all that, the like story by credit goes to James Gunn.
Yeah.
And so a lot of filmmakers looked at this situation and they're like, okay, they just put James Gunn in charge of the biggest subdivision at Warner.
Yeah.
They put all this money and put all their eggs in one basket.
Sorry about that.
No, I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Like they put all their eggs in one basket that this guy's going to like save DC. They gave him a fucking Superman movie to direct.
Yeah.
This is the degree to which management has faith in James Gunn.
Yeah.
And yet they have absolutely no loyalty to the first project he's done since that deal was signed, and are willing to spike it at a moment's notice. And so a lot of filmmakers, either publicly or privately, distance themselves from Warner Brothers. Brian Duffield, who directed what was that Hulu horror movie, did really well back in September. No One Can Save You or something.
Yeah, great film. Yeah.
That he tweeted that he'd already instructed his management that he would not even take meetings with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of reports came in the trades that people had said like that they were canceling meetings with Warner because like it's this combination. Like, yes, some of this was probably just people being mad because a movie that they liked and a movie that their friends worked on or whatever else. But like more than that, like the whole, Brian Duffield's No One Will Save You. But more than that, like the James Gunn of it all, and the fact that like this was a completed movie that tested really, like there was no legitimate reason for this to be dumped, other than the fact that after having produced the movie and put it through post and put it through screenings, they got cold feet and they were like, maybe we can get that $30 million write-down deal from the government, and that like that's more than we'll make in profit if we put it in theaters.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people saw this as a sign that Warner Brothers was not a safe space to work, because like it isn't just this movie. It's the fact that this movie is indicative of the fact that they could go all the way to a completed product that was testing well and still just walk away because basically no reason, you know? And so a lot of people apparently canceled meetings with Warner Brothers. There were a handful of people like Duffield who publicly did it. A lot of it was apparently behind the scenes stuff. But there was enough backlash from the creative community that Warner Brothers almost immediately, I think the news broke on Wednesday that they'd killed the movie. And then by Friday, it was like, no, we're going to shop it to, we're going to let the filmmakers shop it to streamers.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's interesting. They haven't committed to releasing it yet. And I do think there's some part of me that still is like, they're going to ask for $150 million. Nobody's going to bite. And then they're going to turn around and be like, see, everybody agrees with us. This is not a sellable movie.
Yeah.
Which is nonsense, of course, but like, it would allow them to save some face. Also, from what I can see, they are shopping it only to specific buyers. They don't want it to go into theaters, and they don't want it to go to Disney.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it not going to Disney, which kills a lot of the, Hulu and Disney are like some of the biggest, but like, I just can't. Oh God, especially after
But
all this buzz. Like, I mean, I always had this thing
oh yeah,
where like the best thing that can happen to like the author that I work for quite a bit, like he's just like the best thing that can happen to a book is they burn it
yeah,
in America, like in current America, because then they buy the
right,
book and then they burn it, and then there's news stories about it and other people buy it,
yeah,
and then it gets on the banned book list forever. And
yeah,
it's the best thing ever for every single book. I mean, like half the books on the banned book list would no one would give a flying fuck out of, and like honestly, I don't think a lot of them people really should. But since they're on the banned book list, like people care
yeah,
about them and people buy them, and put Barnes and Noble every once a year puts them all
yeah.
out on a thing. And so
On the table,
I
yeah,
don't know. That just seems like I just think that like this to me, like if I had a film like this that was just in that sweet zone of like 70 million or something like that,
yeah,
which right, yeah, 70 million
yeah.
live
70
action.
is the reported budget,
Um
and it's interesting because like I think a big problem is just the fact that they don't perceive Looney Tunes as having a lot of value.
yeah.
And so I think that they look at 70 million and they're just like, any amount of money we spend to market this movie is going to be money we wasted.
I mean, they spent nothing and they got buzz about it. I didn't know that this film existed until this article
Yeah.
came out in Hollywood Reporter. And like just like me, I would probably bet everyone in America didn't know this thing was happening
Yeah.
until this happens. Now, I can't imagine, especially after like here, let me switch over. Everybody kind of dropped the is this yeah. Everybody dropped the behind the scenes stuff, like which are
Yeah.
like the fact it looks like there's obviously everything's physical. I mean everything that people are going to interact with. Like this stuff looks crazy good.
Yeah.
Like just that car scene alone where it just gets imploded. Like
Yeah.
I want to see that. This looks like what was
Yeah.
it? People were Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
Well,
comparing
and
it
that's
to.
the big comparison, obviously, that everybody, because it's like, and I think that's another part of this that is probably undervalued because it doesn't mean anything to most people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of filmmakers got really upset about this, not just because it was like a good movie and because of like what this means about Warner Brothers' attitude towards art and all that kind of stuff, but also I think because people in Hollywood really love like live action animation hybrids because
Yeah.
of like the artistry and
Yeah.
all of that technical stuff that most people don't care about. Like
Yeah.
like Hollywood people love this kind of movie for that reason because it's like it's cool and it's a challenge and all this kind of stuff. And so like I think part of it is too that it's just like, yeah, this is a movie that is made in a lot of ways to appeal to the people who you don't want to piss off right now. And also like there's a lot of moving pieces. I think part of this, if this had been a different time, I don't know that Warner Brothers would have caved. Like
Yeah.
I feel like Zaslav was the bad guy for the entire strike.
Yeah.
Because of his totally obscene wealth and some of the dumb stuff that he was saying behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And now like you come out of the strike and 5 minutes later, he immediately shits his pants.
Right.
And it's like, we just wrapped these strikes. We are trying to make deals now. And you've alienated everyone again.
Yeah.
And so I think I think that part of this is just like the perfect storm of like they came out of the strike and everybody's making aggressive moves. Everybody's moving their schedule around. A lot of stuff's getting canceled. And I think that they thought like nobody's going to care about this because it's a movie that nobody even knew existed. And like we can get away with this because nobody's going to care kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like people were like, oh, you're back on your bullshit again 5 minutes after the strike's over? All right, then,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, especially considering it, like, I mean, I can definitely see there was that, which one was it? It wasn't Sylvester. Was it Sylvester and Tweety? Film that came out that was live action with animation.
Tom and Jerry came out a few years ago.
Tom and Jerry, thank you. Yeah, Tom and Jerry. I don't remember that one doing well. Like I don't.
It didn't, but it also went straight to Max. Like during the middle of the
It was
pandemic.
COVID, right? Yeah.
It was early
Yeah.
COVID. It was like
Yeah.
April or May.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
uh,
fine. It wasn't amazing, but I mean, like, I think that, like, I don't know.
but also, like, honestly, um, the the difference in quality between Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry,
yeah,
as like IP, is
Yeah.
pretty significant. So I feel like on the one hand, you're right, like it wasn't amazing, but also, like, I don't know, like I don't know that you can, that that's a 1-to-1 thing. It's kind of like it's kind of like saying that, you know, our Earth to Ned didn't do well on Disney Plus, and so we shouldn't do another Muppet project.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, but just because they're like puppets
Mhm.
doesn't mean that like that's the same as the Muppets.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I do think Looney Tunes.
It is something it is something I wonder. I get the risk of doing something like this because you have a whole
Oh yeah,
generation of. But on the other hand, I mean, I just, like, on the other hand, now, like, if this had
yeah,
not happened and they just quietly did it, or were able to get away with it, or whatever happened, and no one buzzed about it. But, like, right now, if I was them, I'd be like, finish this fucking film as quick as possible. We need to
oh
get it
yeah,
on Max. Our
oh yeah.
subscriptions are
Well, I mean, the other
dropping.
thing is too,
Like,
like the other thing is there's this weird snake eating its tail argument that happens with it, because I agree with you on one, like I am aware of the risk inherent to making an expensive movie. Like, I mean, this is not super expensive in the scheme of Hollywood movies, but like,
which is, it's its own
but like,
show.
I'm there's risk inherent to this, you know, especially because of the fact that right now Looney Tunes is not like an A-tier piece of IP for Warner Brothers. Like a lot of people don't know, especially kids don't know much about the Looney Tunes. And so there's an argument there that it's like, this is potentially a bad investment. And I understand that. However, I also would argue that's why it's important to do.
Yeah.
Because you have this historically incredibly important piece of your entertainment empire.
Yeah.
That for decades was a perpetual money machine, either in TV and film or just in merchandising.
Yeah.
And it's been so neglected over the last 10 years. Like, there's not even like a bunch of Bugs Bunny t-shirts and shit that they can sell. Like, Looney Tunes is functionally off the radar. You know, like, there is a show on Max that nobody watches. Looney Tunes Tooniversity either is coming or has come. Or not Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons Looniversity either is coming or has come. But like, it's gotten absolutely no press for the most. And so, like, to me, if this movie is as good as people say it is, like, that makes it even more important to get this out there and to do something that's potentially good for the Looney Tunes brand. Because for a lot of people, the last time they saw the Looney Tunes was in Space Jam 2, which everybody hated.
Yeah.
And also, Space Jam 2 devalued Looney Tunes a bit, not just because the movie wasn't popular, but because it wasn't just terrible. The Looney Tunes anymore. Like, they just they threw everything in the kitchen sink into the movie.
They tried to do
and
play.
The Ready Player One and the Iron Giant and Superman, whatever. But it's like, the original Space Jam was just, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if a really famous person hung out with the Looney Tunes? And it felt like some of those direct-to-video Muppet movies that everybody now remembers so fondly. But like, with the second movie, they were just a small cog in the overall machine of all the shit that Warner Brothers was throwing at the wall. And so, to me, it's kind of like, if you've got a good one that services that brand in any way, like, now's the time before you have an entire generation of people who give zero fucks.
I mean, mind you, like, I'm a fan of the Looney Tunes world, and I had, like, my niece, like, watch it and things like that. But like, it's like, it is kind of a wild thing, because it's like, it is okay to let things go there, but that's not a thing that corporations do. Like, and it's just like, it is okay to like I just saw that there's a new Betty Boop coming out or something, like something's going on with that branding, which I was like, Christ. Like I went to, that's Universal, I think, right? And I think at least it's at the
Maybe
Universal Studios theme park. I
it
remember
probably.
there's many.
Here's the
So I
thing.
mean,
I think first of all, it might be in the public domain. I
yeah,
don't think so.
I don't.
But it like all those old Schlesinger cartoons are in the public domain.
Yeah,
So like a lot of, if the property itself isn't in the public domain, at least a bunch of her early cartoons are.
yeah.
But also like I believe they were originally distributed by MGM, but then MGM dumped
Oh,
them.
it's a musical. They're doing a Boop, the Betty Boop musical. That's a live,
Okay.
like a real musical, not like a movie or
Okay.
anything like that. That's what I was thinking of.
Either way,
Jasmine
it's
Yummy
if it's
Rockets.
not public domain now, it will be in the next 5-10 years. So it would not surprise me if we got some kind of Betty Boop something, just so that they could get one last like hurrah out of the character before like they don't own it anymore.
Yeah, that was it. Was actually because I had last year had gone to Universal Studios in Florida, and they have fucking everything. Like, but one thing that was really irritating is that they have like Doonesbury and like just like random old cartoon. They have a cartoon village there, of like comic strips. Like,
I wonder if that's like repurposing old Marvel Islands of Adventure stuff now that Marvel is migrating to Disney.
No. It's always been a thing. Like I distinctly remember it, and it's like a very dead part of the park. And I was very disappointed because I was like, oh, there's actually a bunch of things here. Like, oh my god, it's not Doonesbury, but it's another comic strip that had a like journalist with a duck that was a duck or something like that.
Oh, Mallard Fillmore.
Yeah, I think so. And I was like, oh man, I want like a t-shirt. I want like something like that. And they had nothing whatsoever. Like they had like one Betty Boop thing too, because my mom was a big fan of is a big fan of Betty Boop. And and like it was just like really disappointing because it was just like a bunch of like in that zone they had oh my god, what is it? They had like a bunch of Minion stuff. And it was just like, well, this isn't god damn it.
Yeah.
I'm old. Anyway, but
but yeah, the Coyote thing has been really interesting because like again, a lot of like I think the narrative for a lot of people is like, oh, the internet bullied them into doing the right thing. It's like, no, the internet didn't bully them into anything. Like what bullied them into it is the fact that like people they have to make deals with were like, and again, like it's this weird confluence of things where the strikes just ended, and so their reputation is really like on a cliff's edge. Like
especially Warner Brothers.
People had seen the movie and liked it. The fact that people look at this situation holistically and are like, if they can fucking dump a James Gunn John Cena movie, then what are they going to do to you? It really is like, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this, but like I've heard from reliable secondhand sources like that this is what happened, that a bunch of people canceled meetings or threatened to cancel meetings, and suddenly Warner Brothers is like, shit, we need to make a bunch of deals right now because the strikes just ended and we just alienated everyone. What do we do? I also think part of it is there's a new animation chief, Bill Damashi. I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he's a good guy or not, but like I get the impression that this movie was scrapped in part because he just wanted to put his imprimatur on the animation division, which is a thing that happens when executives change. But like he came in and like canceled this thing and everything blew up, and then he immediately was just like, okay, well, let's fix that. Like there's him and Pam Abdi and somebody else, I can't remember the name of the third manager, who were credited with basically making a bunch of phone calls to be like, hey, any streamers want to watch this movie and see if you're interested. And it happened almost immediately after everybody started freaking out. And I feel like part of that might have just been normal, boring, run-of-the-mill management shit, where it's like the new head of animation wanted his people in his projects, didn't realize like, oh, we're about to set the house on fire. And and again, like that doesn't excuse like stupid short-sighted thinking, but it is just kind of like, these are things that happen all the time. Like new management comes in, they kill projects. Like the fact that this one was in such an advanced state of completion, the fact that it had already tested really well, the fact that like they have done this before, because that was the other thing. I think like if this had happened without the background of Batgirl and Scuba Holiday Hunt,
well, if this was Paramount, like I think it would be a completely different story. Like if
it is
like
like objectively, it is a different story because Disney and Paramount have canceled or shelved or whatever a bunch of this kind of stuff. Like Grease: Rise of the Pink Ladies doesn't exist anymore. And you know, whatever. Say I didn't watch it.
People
like,
like it for some reason.
It's a huge piece of IP. Like, and they haven't written it down for a tax write-off. I assume they're going to do something with it someday. Because they did apparently pretty well selling the soundtrack. And so like, even though nobody watched the show, there's enough affection for the IP that it's like, oh, well, it's a musical. Everybody bought the music. You know,
I'm sure we'll probably see it on Broadway at some point. I mean, like if
I'm sure. Well, the other thing is too, a bunch of studios are starting their own fast services, or they're selling. Like it'll show up on, I think Pluto TV is the one Paramount owns. I should know this because I work for Paramount, but I do not know which one. But there's one of those fast services that Paramount already owns, and so it wouldn't surprise me if you saw a lot of the stuff that gets canceled off of Paramount Plus and disappeared into the black hole show up there. But also Paramount and Disney have been better than Warner Brothers for the most part about putting stuff on Apple and Vudu and letting people just buy the damn thing. Warner Brothers has done it a few times. There's a Flintstones cartoon. I don't remember what it was called. I think it's just called Bedrock or something, but there's a Flintstones cartoon that came out recently that was like for Max. And I think it like went for a season, got renewed for a second season, and then canceled before the second season actually started. And that you can buy on Vudu and stuff right now. Same with that Aquaman movie that they disappeared, the animated Aquaman movie that they disappeared, King of Atlantis. Like you can buy that. So like it's interesting to look at some of that stuff and like just be like, you know, you have choices. Again, Warner Brothers. I would bet good money that Urkel Saves Santa Claus movie. No goddamn way that ever sees the light of day if the Coyote thing hadn't happened last week. I really believe that Steve Urkel movie only is getting, because it's not coming to Max, it's not going to it's not getting a disc release. It's just like, hey, you can go buy this on Apple if you want. And the only way that happens, in my opinion, is if they felt like they did not have the choice to write it down for it, because there's no way that they're making $30 million doing that. Like they're not going to sell 1 million copies of that movie.
I'm fascinated by the like when they drop it on streaming, because I mean, like my understanding is that there's a different, anything that's ad based, there's a different revenue, which is why somebody that I would think knows something about it that was posting on Twitter was saying that if like the difference between what actors and writers get is different if it's ad based versus a subscription based thing. And I know there was a negotiation. I can
give you a very short version of that, which is fast services are by and large covered by the same like old school deal that TV reruns are. So it's based on the number of people who actually watch your stuff and the ads that run and all that kind of stuff. And so it's very easy to kind of calculate, okay, we made X amount of dollars from ads on this, and so we owe the creatives Y amount of dollars because it's the percentage that we promised them of those ads. With subscription streaming services, what typically happens is that the streamers aren't covered by that deal. I think they are now as a result of the new deal, but at least for the last 20 years or 20, last 15 years since the 2008 strike, streamers have not been covered by that. And so what would happen is that the studios would get a one-time license fee, like a lump sum for the life of the contract. And then all of the numbers are opaque. You don't tell anybody what you're making. You don't tell anybody how many times it's been watched. And the people who worked on the show get a one-time payout from that lump sum. And then some pittance down the line, which is why you started to see, like, I had a friend who did an episode of Charmed back in the day and just posted a thing the other day that he got a royalty check for a penny. Because like that's how much his royalty, you know. But like,
Yeah.
so that's the very short version of it, is that like the fast services, those ad supported services, all go under traditional TV deals where it acts like reruns, and it's really easy to say like, okay, well, we made $1,000 from ads, we have to set 300 aside because that's what we promised to the talent.
Yeah.
Whereas with subscription services, they've intentionally made it opaque, and typically the studios get one big balloon payment. They pay you one time, and then for 5 years you don't see another dime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I think that has changed now, or is changing because of the new deal. Although God knows what.
It'll also be interesting with like places like Netflix that are like, you know, oh, it's $6.99 and ad supported, like how that whole ordeal works. Because I mean, like that's,
well, I think that's going to be part of it. I think, like, because what's going to happen is that they're going to be like, okay, so this is functionally a fast service. Like it's essentially a free ad supported TV. You're getting paid out of the ads. You're getting paid out of our, but then we keep that whole $6.99 and we're just going to use that to create programming.
Yeah.
And so like there will no longer be the balloon payment at the beginning, because now you're actually getting money over the 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's my guess. I don't know. I haven't looked at the contracts are out there. I probably should read them, but like reading 80 pages of contracts for something that is not my job.
Yeah. We should take somebody up that. I've actually been wanting to have Joe Russo on. Not that Joe Russo, but the other Joe Russo.
Right, the other one. I always like intentionally mistaking Joe Russo and John Lovett for the Joe Russo and John Lovett's. John Lovett actually showed up on Threads today finally. Nice. And posted a like, "Hey everybody, I'm here now," and I responded with the critic gif.
That's I keep thinking that like we should wrap this up, but the two things I'm like, I keep thinking that like I want to get, I think I what I need to do is one way or the other, I need to digitize homicide life on the streets so that basically we can have a conversation about it. At least if like one episode or something like that about it, even though like my dream is to do like a long, you know, like a 2-season podcast
like
on it. But again, as like what I figured out, I'm like, no one can watch it. So like, okay, here's the
I think what would be fun with that,
a $50 podcast, a $50 DVD set that is only available on eBay.
I think what would be fun for that, honestly, would be doing it a season at a time.
Yeah.
Like Alison Pregler is a YouTuber I really like, did that with OG Charmed back before the show was available in its entirety on disc. And she did like, I think it was 8 seasons, 7, something, however many it was. She did like that many episodes. It's just like an hour-long YouTube video where she like recaps and makes fun of each season. And that was a really fun thing. And also she was able to put one out and then like do other shit for 6 months and then put one out. And so like that's probably a good model for us to do for something.
What I was thinking about doing was the twofold event, which was start putting clips of it on TikTok, because there's a couple actors in there that like Andre Braugher is now beloved on it as a cop, and so like I would just love putting all of his like very angry, very like the one where he has a stroke, like spoilers, you know, like in the thing, and people are like, what the fuck happened? Like just putting those out there and be like, this is homicide life on the streets.
Just cut it into episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Exactly. That's actually even a better idea. But then the sub thing was, for a subscription to our podcast, you can get a Dropbox folder.
Nice.
and
incredibly illegal. But
you're like, you don't want to see you're like the show that was always better than The Wire anyway. Like piss off all the Wire fans. But yeah, anyway, you got anything else?
Actually, one last thing, speaking of pissing off
the Wire
vocal fan bases, I did just want to say, like, I've been surprised by how invested I have been in the response to Matthew Perry's passing. You know, you and I talked about, we wanted to do just a whole episode where we just talked about the whole 9 yards and Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip and Go On,
all of his other films other than the Friends.
Everything other than Friends. And that would have been a great episode if we did it right away. Like, it would have, it felt like, to me, it's like, oh, it's like our Hellboy episode where we just, the day that Hellboy came out, we reviewed the other Hellboy, just pretended it didn't exist. But it's one of those things where I've been very interested in, because again, he's a dude who I liked from his other projects. I don't really care about Friends. Like, I don't dislike Friends. I'm not one of those people who's just like shitting on the popular thing, but like, I haven't watched it in at least 15 years. And it was never my favorite thing. Yeah. And you know, so like, I really enjoyed this guy's work in other shit. Like, it's funny, I've been rewatching Go On, which I don't know if you ever saw that one.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I literally just, I'm just about to pull up his IMDb page on this, and I clicked on Go On. So yeah.
Go On is a ton of fun. He plays a recent widower who essentially in the first episode gets into a fight at work and is told he's not allowed to come back to work until he's undergone like a therapy group. Yeah. And so it's basically this group of wacky characters who are stuck in this therapy group with him. The cast is terrific. Tyler James Williams from Everybody Hates Chris, which, by the way, also is getting an animated follow-up.
Well, isn't he on? I don't want to.
He was from The Walking Dead, and he's done a bunch of shit. Like, oh yeah, he's on Harley now.
He's on Abbott Elementary. That's what I thought I recognized him from, but that everybody's much younger than it was. I was making sure that it was.
Oh yeah. Everybody, he's the kid from Everybody Hates Chris. He's going to be voicing Chris Rock again in an animated sequel series called Everybody Still Hates Chris. Which apparently is still happening, even though, you know, animation at Warner Brothers is a very dicey proposition. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure. Everybody Hates Chris might belong to CBS. It might be a Paramount thing. Because it was on UPN, which is CBS, or was that Warner Brothers? I don't even remember. Anyway, it was the pre-CW, pre-Warner Brothers CBS merger thing. Yeah. But anyway, great cast for it. Susie Nakamura is in it, who's one of those people who, like, you wouldn't recognize her by name, but if you saw a picture, you're like, oh yeah, her. She's funny and everything. Laura Benanti's in it. John Cho plays his like best friend / supervisor at work. And just a real. It's one of those weird shows. I feel like there was just a shitload of them that came out where it was like post the Bob Newhart show and Becker, and like you had we were past the generation where all the psych patients were total whack jobs, and into like seeing them as a little bit more human, but still there's something inherently funny about damaged people being vulnerable in public. And so like it's the dream, but it was a show that I really enjoyed. I remember really digging it when it came out, and I haven't watched it in years. I had forgotten that they did what I assume must have been like a trade, because in an episode of Go On, he gets set up on a blind date with Courtney Cox, and then it was one of those things where he's like, oh my God, she's so hot. And then like she was a disaster as a human being. And so the relationship didn't go anywhere. Yeah. And then there was a very similar thing on Cougar Town. There was an episode where Matt Perry shows up, and like I think it was just like a customer to a real estate firm, but like she was like immediately like, oh my God, this guy's so fucking awesome. I want this guy. And he was like a rich guy who put on like a big elaborate thing to try to get her attention, and she had to admit that she was recently engaged, and he's like, oh well, that sucks, and then he just went away and never came back. But it's like I assumed that must have been like a coordinated thing where it's like, let's just have fun with the fact that we are like one of the most famous couples in sitcom history, and like try to save our struggling shows with a gimmick. Um,
Well,
but yeah,
the community boost didn't help when they did that crossover.
I genuinely think it probably did. But
I mean, I
like
think the community one, I had only a vague remembrance that Cougar Town was happening. I think I only knew because
yeah.
like you liked the show, but
I really only like I started watching Cougar Town just because like I love Scrubs so much that when they were talking about it in like the commentary track, I was like, that actually sounds funny.
Mhm.
But yeah, the guys who started Cougar Town were both Scrubs writers and producers. Bill Lawrence, who now is the Ted Lasso guy, was one of them. But yeah, Cougar Town was definitely like it went from ABC to TBS because I think it was a Warner Brothers Studio show maybe
Yeah.
but anyway, it went from ABC to TBS, and right around that time was when the like it got name dropped on Community, and like Abed had a cameo appearance on Cougar Town. I don't know if you ever
Yes.
saw that
Yeah.
scene or not.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
But like
He pooped his pants.
I'm just like that 1-2 punch of like getting extra attention and then also moving to TBS,
Yeah.
where like Three Dogs and a Pet Rock is the highest viewership that you're expected to get.
Yeah.
I think it ran for like 2 or 3 seasons on ABC and then ran for like 4 seasons on TBS, and then I think it only got canceled because everybody involved started to get more famous and like wanted to go do stuff where they could make money.
Yeah. It's
But
also
anyway,
I think 6 seasons is a good run. I know that it hit the 20 times. Yeah, it would hit the 100 episode.
I'm not
mark, so
100% sure it hit the 100 episodes just because like a lot it was one of those, went to TBS. I think a lot of those seasons were 13 episodes.
Okay.
But I might be wrong too because like I don't remember distinctly.
Yeah.
In any event, like I really like Perry as a performer. I've always thought Studio 60 was like much better than it got credit for. Like there's some really janky stuff in the back half, like the kidnap and ransom plot. It was as well executed as it could have been. And I really liked the woman who I can never remember who she is. It's not Kristen Chenoweth, but it's the other like blonde business suit lady who shows up in the K&R episodes. One of those character actors who you're just like, oh yeah, her. But like it was one of those things where it was like a bad idea done well, and it kills me because I feel like the reason it exists in Studio 60 is because after it was a disaster on The West Wing, Sorkin was like, no, but I could have done it. I could have. And it's like, no, you couldn't, man. Just leave it. It's fine.
I think that Sorkin, I think Sorkin needs to like have the couple like episodes, like the first couple episodes, build the show as an established thing, and then have the show taken away from him. That's something that I felt on a lot of like, I mean, obviously on West Wing because the show was so big and so everything like it ended up being, there's multiple writers. I mean, fucking Lawrence O'Donnell wrote on it. Like, it's like had like a huge number of people. But I think that probably would have helped it to take it away from.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know how coke-addled Sorkin was in 2007, but
and I think that is a thing that you've been able to see in Studio 60 and in the newsroom. It's just like, no, these things get off to this incredibly strong start because like Sorkin and Schlamme have these incredibly like it's a strong premise. It's a great pilot. Like, and then like you get 4 episodes in and somebody's just fucking lost in the weeds and you're like, what's going on here? Like, what are we trying to do? But yeah, I remember Studio 60 was the first like big Save Our Show campaign that I ever participated. Like all my friends were like trying to save Firefly, and I was like, no man, Studio 60. Like I bought.
But that was 5 years on by the time that happened, and we at least got a movie. But on the other hand, have you ever heard? I recently heard one of the writers talk about what Whedon wanted to do in the second season.
I think that I might have seen an article about it. I definitely haven't heard the writers
I
directly.
thank fucking God that it never happened. So I know you haven't ever watched it, right? Somehow, like I don't know.
Not all the way through, no.
I think at some
I
point we
watched a
do
couple
probably.
episodes. It's just
Yeah,
not for me.
yeah, I know, I
It's
know.
it's kind of like, it's funny. I was watching a video today on YouTube. I can't remember who by, but they were talking about like good art and the kind of the relativity of it. And it's like this, like there are things that I can look at and be like, this is objectively great.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. And Firefly kind of falls into that. Like I can see why people love it. It's just not for me.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, we were saying.
No, I don't even want to get it. Like if you don't know, I mean, Anira, who basically plays the like I forget what the term is that they use on it, but it's basically she's a higher end. She's a companion. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But basically the first episode, first arc of the next season was going to leave her where she was kidnapped by Reavers, the like horrible like rape murder, fucked up people.
I have seen Serenity, so like I know all the basics of the lore.
Basically she's kidnapped by them. Mal comes in, saves her, and basically she's surrounded by a dozen or more dead Reavers that are all around her, and she's like kind of laying in the middle of it. And supposedly there was a syringe established in a either, I think it was in the first season, that basically everybody thought, oh, that's her suicide, like that's her, like understandably she's the one that everyone's going to come, she takes herself out. No, what that is, and this is something that Whedon was very excited about, and he had this idea from basically the beginning, was that what it does is she takes it, and then anyone who has sex with her or rapes her dies a horrible, painful death. And so basically the implication of this scene that he had talked out with this writer was that basically she was gang raped horribly by like the most like vile, like, not that that's there's levels, but like the Reavers were like, I don't know what character, like basically the worst possible characters you can think of that you'd think about, and she killed them all. And so he comes in and picks her up like she's a princess and treats her like a lady, which I guess was his quote, was like, and he treats her still like a lady. And it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, that describes everything that's come out about Josh Whedon.
I was gonna say
perfectly.
Even before you got into it, as soon as you said, and Josh was really excited about this, my brain immediately was like, danger.
Yeah. And it's just like, I just hate it because like I look at that cast and like, it's so fucking good. Like everyone in that cast is so good. Well, Adam Baldwin to whatever, some extent, but like, and it's just like, I would love to see, like, it would be like one of those like billionaire things where like the fans would hate it and everything like that. But I'm like, can we just buy it and then give it to someone else? Give it to like,
and again, like that's the fundamental problem with having like these crazy auteurs where it's just like, you built up the mythology over decades of like the mad genius, and it's just like, no, sometimes they're not geniuses, sometimes they're just mad. And like, if they built something amazing and your options are let someone else build on top of it or watch this guy set it on fire and piss on it, like
Lucas. Yeah.
So like, to me, I'm just like, that's, I don't know, that's a conversation again, that's a whole other episode.
We get it.
But all right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to us rant for 2 hours. Remember to be back here by noon on the 5th day, and always remember to rewind your cassettes, especially if they're covered in Deadite blood.